A reality mirror, seeing the world through clear, fractured, and muddy reflections, by David Russo. You think you're looking at the world exactly as it is. But what if what you see is not just reality itself, but reality reflected through the lens of your own mind? Every belief you hold, every emotion you carry, every assumption you make subtly shapes the world you experience. Perception is not passive, it is participatory. You are not only observing reality, you are interacting with it, interpreting it, and in many ways, co-creating it. This book is an invitation to step back and examine the mirror through which you see your life. That mirror is made of thoughts, habits, memories, expectations, and fears, most of them invisible, most of them automatic. Yet they influence what you notice, what you overlook, and how you respond to the world around you. When you begin to recognize these filters, you gain something powerful. Chose. A reality mirror is not about denying facts or escaping the world. It is about understanding how perception works and how your inner world shapes your outer experience. The world you live in is not only defined by events, circumstances, or other people, it is shaped by how you interpret and engage with them. Change your perception, and your experience of reality changes with it. Throughout this book, you will learn to identify different kinds of mirrors. Some are clear and dependable. Others are fractured by conflicting perspectives. Some are muddy, clouded by uncertainty or emotion. Each one has something to teach you. By learning to recognize which mirror you're using in any moment, you gain clarity, flexibility, and awareness. This journey is about becoming conscious rather than reactive. It's about learning to pause, reflect, and respond intentionally. As you sharpen your awareness, you begin to act with greater alignment, empathy, and confidence. You start designing a life that feels authentic rather than automatic. So take a breath, set aside certainty, and be willing to look closely not just at the world, but at the way you see it. What you discover may challenge you, ground you, and ultimately empower you. Because once you understand the mirror, you understand yourself, and that changes everything. Chapter 1. Looking into the mirror, seeing the world through clear, fractured, and muddy reflections. When you look into a mirror, you expect a reflection, but that reflection depends on the surface. A clean mirror shows clearly. A cracked mirror fractures the image. A muddy mirror obscures it. The same is true of how we experience reality. What we see is shaped not only by what exists, but by the condition of the mirror through which we view it. Reality is not experienced directly. It is filtered through perception, through beliefs, emotions, memories, and expectations. Two people can witness the same event and walk away with entirely different interpretations. Neither is necessarily wrong, each is seeing through a different mirror. The danger comes when we mistake our reflection for the whole truth. The clean mirror represents moments of clarity when perception is steady and grounded. The fractured mirror reflects multiple perspectives, reminding us that truth can look different depending on where you stand. The muddy mirror reveals uncertainty, confusion, and ambiguity, the parts of life that resist clear answers. None of these mirrors are mistakes. Each one plays a role in how we understand the world. Moments of conflict, misunderstanding, or emotional reaction often signal a fractured or muddy mirror. These moments can feel uncomfortable, even threatening. But they are also invitations. They ask us to slow down, question our assumptions, and examine how we're interpreting what we see. Growth doesn't come from perfect clarity, it comes from awareness. The goal of this book is not to eliminate distortion, but to recognize it. When you notice the mirror instead of unconsciously trusting it, you gain freedom. You can adjust your perspective. You can hold multiple interpretations. You can respond rather than react. So ask yourself, when you look at your life, what kind of mirror are you using? Are you seeing clearly or through expectation, fear, or habit? Are you open to the idea that your reflection may be incomplete? This chapter begins the practice of noticing, not judging, not fixing, simply seeing how you see. Because once you become aware of the mirror, you are no longer controlled by it. And that awareness is where real understanding begins. Chapter 2. The Clean Mirror. Seeing the world clearly. Before it gets complicated, the clean mirror represents clarity, the moments when perception feels simple, direct, and grounded. You look, and you see. You hear, and you understand. These moments form the foundation of daily life. Without them, nothing would function. We rely on shared, consistent perceptions to navigate the world together. Clarity often appears in ordinary moments, feeling the warmth of sunlight, completing a task, sharing a laugh, noticing what is right in front of you. In these moments, the mind is present rather than distracted, and perception aligns closely with reality. The clean mirror does not eliminate interpretation, but it minimizes distortion. Yet, even the cleanest mirror doesn't stay spotless on its own. Assumptions, habits, and unconscious beliefs leave fingerprints on perception. Over time, clarity dulls unless it is maintained. That maintenance comes from attention pausing, observing, and checking in with what is actually happening rather than what you expect to happen. The clean mirror teaches presence. When you slow down and notice what is real and immediate, the mind becomes steadier. Decisions feel simpler. Reactions soften. You regain a sense of grounding. This clarity allows you to engage with complexity without being overwhelmed by it. Importantly, the clean mirror also supports shared reality. It is what allows communication, trust, and cooperation. We may disagree on meaning, but we can agree on what is happening. This shared foundation is what makes relationships, systems, and societies possible. Clarity is not dramatic, but it is powerful. It is the quiet strength beneath all understanding. By cultivating attention and presence, you keep the mirror clean, not perfect, but clear enough to see what matters. Before questioning, interpreting, or reacting, return to the clean mirror. Ask, what is actually happening right now? That question alone can steady the mind and anchor perception. From there, you are prepared to face complexity with balance rather than confusion. Chapter 3, The Brain as the Mirror Maker, How Your Mind Shapes the Reality You See. Your brain is not a camera recording reality, it is a mirror maker constructing it. Every second, it takes in complete sensory information and builds a coherent world from it. Memory fills in gaps. Expectations predict outcomes. Attention decides what matters. This process is fast, automatic, and mostly invisible. That's why perception feels immediate and obvious even when it's inaccurate. Optical illusions reveal this clearly, but the same process operates in everyday life. We misread tone, assume intention, and draw conclusions without realizing how much interpretation is involved. These are not failures of the brain. They are features of how it works. Understanding the brain as a mirror maker is empowering. When you realize perception is constructed, you gain the ability to question it. You can notice biases, challenge assumptions, and pause before reacting. Awareness doesn't stop the brain from interpreting, but it allows you to guide the process with intention. This insight also deepens empathy. If everyone is seeing through a different mental mirror, then disagreement doesn't automatically mean ignorance or malice. It often means different experiences, histories, and expectations shaping perception. Recognizing this opens the door to curiosity rather than conflict. The practice is simple but powerful. Observe your thoughts as reflections, not facts. Ask where they come from. Notice patterns. Question certainty. Over time, this awareness sharpens perception and reduces unnecessary distortion. You may never see reality perfectly, but you can see it more clearly, more flexibly, and more compassionately. Your brain will always shape your experience. The choice is whether that shaping happens unconsciously or with awareness. When you learn how your mirror is made, you learn how to refine it. And in doing so, you step into a reality that feels more grounded, intentional, and alive. Chapter 4, The Fractured Mirror, Seeing the World Through Multiple Reflections. Imagine standing in front of a cracked mirror. Your reflection appears in fragments, each piece accurate on its own, yet incomplete when viewed alone. This is the fractured mirror, the moment you realize that reality does not appear the same to everyone, and that even your own perception can hold contradictions. Life is full of fractured mirrors. The same event can feel meaningful to one person and painful to another. A conversation can seem clear to you and confusing to someone else. Each individual carries a unique history, belief system, and emotional context, and these shape how reality is interpreted. This complexity is not a flaw, it is the depth of human experience. The fractured mirror teaches that reality is multi-layered. Truth is often not singular or absolute, but contextual and relational. Multiple perspectives can exist at once without canceling each other out. Recognizing this does not weaken understanding, it strengthens it. It allows you to move beyond rigid certainty and into thoughtful awareness. This fragmentation exists within you as well. Your thoughts are not always unifying. You may want conflicting things, feel opposing emotions, or see yourself differently depending on the moment. Rather than seeing this as confusion, the fractured mirror invites integration. When you acknowledge these internal reflections, you gain insight into your complexity rather than being ruled by it. One of the greatest gifts of the fractured mirror is empathy. When you accept that your reflection is not the only one, you become more open to others. You begin to listen rather than defend, to explore rather than dismiss. Understanding grows not from agreement, but from the willingness to see through another fragment of the mirror. Fractures also challenge assumptions. They disrupt automatic thinking and force reflection. In moments of disagreement, confusion, or discomfort, the fractured mirror asks you to pause and ask, what else might be true? What am I not seeing? These questions expand awareness and deepen wisdom. You do not need to resolve every contradiction or unify every perspective. Life's fractures are not problems to fix, they are invitations to grow. Each fragment holds information. Each crack reveals new angle. When you learn to hold complexity without fear, your understanding becomes more whole. The fractured mirror teaches that clarity does not come from simplicity alone, but from the ability to hold multiple reflections at once. By embracing these fragments, you develop compassion, flexibility, and insight. And in doing so, you discover that understanding does not require certainty, it requires openness. Chapter 5. The Muddy Mirror, Seeing Through the Fog of Uncertainty. Picture a mirror streaked with water and dirt. The reflection is blurred, shifting, and incomplete. This is the muddy mirror, the experience of reality, when clarity is unavailable and uncertainty dominates perception. Unlike the clean or fractured mirror, the muddy mirror resists definition. It demands patience. Life presents muddy mirrors constantly. Information is incomplete. Emotions cloud judgment. Fear, hope, and expectation distort what we see. Our minds search for certainty, even when none exists. The muddy mirror reminds us that some aspects of reality cannot be fully known, and that this is not failure, but truth. The challenge of the muddy mirror is uncertainty. We want answers, resolution, and control. But life does not always provide them. When clarity is impossible, the muddy mirror invites a different response: humility. It teaches us to move forward without guarantees, to act thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Moments of confusion, uncertain relationships, difficult decisions, unresolved questions are encounters with the muddy mirror. Yet even here, growth is possible. You do not need perfect understanding to take meaningful action. Awareness, curiosity, and courage are enough. The muddy mirror teaches patience. When perception is unclear, rushing leads to distortion. Slowing down allows patterns to emerge naturally. With time, what once felt chaotic often reveals structure, not because reality changed, but because your understanding matured. This mirror also deepens empathy. When you recognize how clouded your own perception can be, judgment softens. You become more tolerant of others' confusion, hesitation, and mistakes. Compassion grows from the awareness that everyone is navigating their own fog. The muddy mirror asks you to release the illusion of total control. In doing so, it offers freedom. Freedom from rigid expectations. Freedom from false certainty. Freedom to meet life as it is, rather than as you wish it to be. Uncertainty is not an obstacle to meaning, it is part of it. When you learn to move through the fog with awareness and trust, you develop resilience and insight. The muddy mirror teaches that clarity does not always come from seeing more, but from accepting what cannot yet be seen. Chapter 6. Mirrors of the Self, Understanding Who You Are Through Reflection. When you look inward, you are not seeing a single, fixed identity. You are seeing a reflection shaped by experience, belief, memory, and choice. These are the mirrors of the self, and they influence how you understand who you are and how you live your life. Identity is fluid. You change through success and failure, connection and loss. The person you were is not the person you are becoming. This can feel unsettling, but it is also liberating. It means growth is always possible. You are not confined to an old reflection. Sometimes the mirror is clear. You recognize your strengths, values, and passions. Other times it is distorted by doubt, comparison, or external expectations. These distortions are not signs of weakness, they are signals pointing to areas that need awareness and compassion. The mirrors of the self are shaped both internally and externally. Your self-image is influenced by how others respond to you and how you interpret those responses. This interaction is constant. Understanding it allows you to question which reflections you accept as truth and which you choose to revise. You have agency in this process. You can examine beliefs that limit you. You can acknowledge growth that often goes unnoticed. You can choose to relate to your flaws with curiosity instead of judgment. Identity is not discovered once, it is cultivated over time. Challenges often fracture the mirror of the self. Failure, loss, or criticism can shake your sense of who you are. Yet these moments also create space for reinvention. When the reflection breaks, you are invited to rebuild with greater intention. Self-reflection is not about perfection. It is about awareness. The more consciously you engage with your inner mirrors, the more aligned your choices become with your values. You begin living not from habit, but from understanding. The mirrors of the self are guides, not judges. They evolve as you do. By engaging with them honestly, you move toward authenticity, resilience, and purpose, and toward a life that reflects who you truly are becoming. Chapter 7: Social Mirrors: How the World Reflects Back Who We Are. Much of how you see yourself comes from reflection. Society, culture, family, and community all act as mirrors, shaping beliefs about identity, worth, and possibility. These are social mirrors, and they quietly influence how you move through the world. Social mirrors appear in feedback, expectations, norms, and roles. They can encourage growth or reinforce limitation. Praise can strengthen confidence, criticism can create doubt. Cultural narratives define what is acceptable, valuable, or achievable, and often do so without being questioned. Becoming aware of social mirrors is empowering. It allows you to distinguish between reflection and truth. Not every message deserves to be internalized. Some mirrors reveal insight, others distort. Awareness gives you choice. Social mirrors also explain difference. Others are shaped by reflections you have never encountered. Their beliefs, behaviors, and struggles are responses to mirrors formed by different histories and contexts. This understanding builds empathy and reduces judgment. Importantly, social mirrors are not fixed. They evolve, and you participate in that evolution. Every interaction you have reflects something back into the world. Kindness, honesty, and courage create mirrors that uplift. Indifference and fear create mirrors that constrain. There is responsibility here. Just as you are shaped by reflection, you shape others in return. Your presence matters. Your actions contribute to the collective mirror that others use to understand themselves. Engaging consciously with social mirrors means learning from feedback without surrendering your identity. It means listening without disappearing, adapting without abandoning your values. You can honor society's influence without being defined by it. The world reflects who you are, but you also reflect who the world can become. By choosing which mirrors to trust and which to challenge, you step into a life of awareness, autonomy, and connection. Look around. Notice the reflections. And remember, while the world may shape you, you always have a hand in shaping the mirror. Chapter 8: When the Mirror Cracks: Facing the Moments That Change How We See the World. There are moments when the reflection you trust suddenly fails you. Something happens that doesn't fit your expectations, a loss, a betrayal, a failure, or an unexpected truth, and the image you held of life fractures. This is what it means when the mirror cracks: perception breaks open, and certainty dissolves. A cracked mirror is unsettling because it disrupts familiarity. What once felt stable now feels fragmented. Yet these moments, as painful or disorienting as they can be, are often the most transformative. They reveal where assumptions lived unnoticed, where beliefs unchallenged, and where perception had grown rigid. In cracking, the mirror exposes what was hidden. When perception breaks, growth becomes unavoidable. You are forced out of autopilot and into awareness. You begin to question not just what happened, but how you interpreted it. Was your reaction driven by fear, habit, or expectation? What did you believe that no longer holds true? These questions emerge only, and the mirror can no longer present a seamless illusion. Cracks also cultivate resilience. Life will challenge your understanding again and again. Each fracture offers a chance to rebuild perception with greater honesty and depth. Rather than clinging to outdated reflections, you are invited to reconstruct your view of the world with more flexibility, compassion, and wisdom. There is freedom in a cracked mirror. When illusions fall away, so does false certainty. You are no longer bound to stories that no longer serve you. In their place emerges a clearer, more grounded engagement with reality, one that accepts complexity rather than denying it. Cracks can even spark creativity. Fragments reflect from new angles, revealing insights that were previously invisible. What first feels like chaos often becomes a wider field of vision. New paths appear precisely because the old ones collapsed. The cracked mirror reminds you that life is not defined by uninterrupted clarity, but by the courage to face disruption. Each fracture is an opening. Each disruption is an invitation to see more deeply. When the mirror cracks, do not turn away. Look carefully. Learn from the fragments. Rebuild with intention. What emerges may be unfamiliar, but it will be more honest, more resilient, and far more alive. Chapter 9. Living with the mirror, thriving in a world of reflection, fractures, and fog. By now, you've seen how perception shifts, how mirrors can be clean, fractured, muddy, or cracked entirely. The question is no longer how to avoid distortion, but how to live well in its presence. Living with the mirror means accepting that clarity is temporary and uncertainty is inevitable. This acceptance is not defeat, it is freedom. When you release the demand for perfect perception, you gain flexibility. You stop fighting ambiguity and start navigating it. Life becomes less about control and more about conscious engagement. The first practice of living with the mirror is awareness. Notice how you are seeing, not just what you are seeing. Observe when perception is clear, when it fractures, and when it clouds. Awareness creates space between stimulus and response, allowing choice to replace habit. The second practice is adaptability. Reality shifts, information evolves, and understanding deepens over time. What felt true once may no longer fit. Living well means adjusting your perception without losing your center. Wisdom is not rigid, it is responsive. The third practice is courage. Acting without full clarity requires trust in yourself. Courage allows you to move forward despite incomplete information, to engage honestly with discomfort, and to question beliefs without fear of losing identity. Compassion is essential here, both for yourself and others. Everyone is navigating their own reflections, blind spots, and distortions. When you remember this, judgment softens and connection deepens. Compassion becomes a stabilizing force in an uncertain world. Living with the mirror is not about mastering perception. It is about learning from it. Each reflection, clear or distorted, offers insight. Each crack carries instruction. When you treat perception as a guide rather than a judge, life becomes richer and more intentional. You do not need perfect vision to live meaningfully. You need awareness, flexibility, and courage. With these, even fog becomes navigable, and every reflection becomes part of a larger understanding. Chapter 10. What the mirror shows, reflections, insights, and the power of perception. After exploring every mirror, clean, fractured, muddy, and cracked, we arrive at a broader view. Stepping back, the mirror shows not a single truth, but a pattern. Reality is shaped through perception, and perception is shaped through awareness. The mirror shows that truth is dynamic. It shifts with context, experience, and understanding. What you see depends not only on the world, but on how you engage with it. This does not weaken reality, it reveals depth. The mirror also shows you yourself, not as fixed or finished, but as evolving. It reflects strengths and limitations, clarity and confusion. In seeing this, you gain agency. You are not bound to every reflection. You can question, refine, and choose how you relate to what you see. Connection is another revelation. No perception exists in isolation. Every reflection is influenced by others, by culture, relationships, and shared meaning. Understanding this builds empathy. Differences become opportunities for expansion rather than division. Most importantly, the mirror shows possibility. Even uncertainty holds potential. Every distortion can become insight. Every crack can deepen wisdom. Perception is not merely something that happens to you, it is something you participate in shaping. Meaning does not come from perfect clarity. It comes from the willingness to reflect, to question, and to move forward with intention. Life is both a reflection and a creation, shaped by the consciousness you bring to it. The mirror does not demand certainty. It invites awareness. And in accepting that invitation, you gain the power to live with insight, humility, and purpose. Conclusion: as this journey ends, one truth becomes clear: the world you experience is inseparable from the mind through which you perceive it. Every moment is filtered through thought, belief, and expectation. Recognizing this is not abstract philosophy, is practical power. The mirrors we examine, clear, fractured, and muddy, are not the only reflections. Even the world around us can act as a mirror, like water that reflects what it holds, shifting with every ripple. Perception is never static. What we see is not reality alone, it is reality interacting with the mind that observes it. By noticing these reflections, we gain awareness of how thoughts, emotions, and experiences shape what appears before us. When you understand perception, you reclaim agency. You pause before reacting. You notice assumptions. You choose responses instead of repeating patterns. Awareness allows you to navigate distortions, hold multiple reflections, and respond intentionally. Change does not begin outside you, it begins within. Life is not a fixed reflection, but a dialogue between mind and world, constantly moving and evolving. Each ripple, each reflection, invites a new perspective, a new possibility. Carry this understanding forward. Reflect often. Question gently. Adjust consciously. The mirrors will never be perfect, but they will always teach you something. Even when clarity falters, even when reflections fracture, there is always the chance to engage intentionally, to live consciously, and to shape the world you see. Step into that dialogue with courage, curiosity, and compassion. Notice the mirrors, notice the world as it reflects back, and remember, clarity is not a destination, it is a living, moving practice.